Thank you. Good afternoon. I'm now going to call the Wednesday, November 9th, 2022 meeting of the Norfolk County Commissioners to order. I apologize for the delay. We were having some technical difficulties. We're still experiencing it, but it's necessary for us to open this meeting and get to it. So thank you very much for your attendance. On Thursday, March 12th, 2020, Governor Charles Baker issued an order suspending certain provisions of the Mass Open Meeting Law, Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 20. That order was effective immediately or until it is rescinded or the state of emergency is terminated. On July 17th, 2022, by action of the legislature, the order was extended until March 31st, 2023. I'm going to ask everyone that's here to stand and join me in saluting the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Mr. Chairman? What?
If I could make a remark.
Sure. Director Cronin.
As the meeting is being held via telephone, all participants in the room are asked to speak loudly so that the audience can hear clearly and avoid talking over. Thank you.
Okay. Call the meeting to order. I'm going to call the roll call. Commissioner Stady.
Present.
Commissioner Collins.
Present.
Commissioner Shea is present. Number 3, minutes of the open session meeting of September 28th, 2022 for approval.
Move approval. Second.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
It is a vote. Number 4, minutes of the open session meeting of November 2nd, 2022 for approval.
Move approval. Second.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. It is a vote. Number 5, minutes of the executive session meeting of November 2nd, 2022 for approval, not to be released at this time.
With that, yes, move approval. Second.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. It is a vote. Thank you. Number 6, appointments with representative of the Norfolk County Retirement Board to discuss changes in the Norfolk County's contributions. We have a number of guests with us today, none who are new to us, but Treasurer Bellotti, who is, of course, chair of the Norfolk County Retirement Board, is here. Paul Connors of Randolph, who is appointed by the county commissioners as a member of the retirement board, is here. Patrick LePage from the retirement board is here. We're going to open this up. And Kathleen is on.
Dan Sherman.
And our actuary, our consultant, Dan Sherman, is hopefully on the phone. And again, I apologize for this delay, but we've got a busy agenda for us, and we're going to try to go with it. And I don't know who wants to open it up. It's come to our attention a week or two ago from Treasurer Bellotti and Mr. Connors that there was some recommendations and there was some movement at the retirement board relative to options for appropriation by various government units. So the purpose of us meeting here today is to open this up. Let's talk about it and go forward. Sure. Mr. Connors.
First of all, as the appointee of the commissioners, I want to apologize for not bringing it to the attention of the board sooner. It's an oversight on my part. I've been on for a number of years. We've watched the system grow to a point where it right now is to be fully funded in 2029, which seems like a long time away, but in all actuality, it's 6 years from now being funded. And we're just trying to make up the shortfall, the difference, and spread it across the entire system in a fair way. So I represent the county commissioners, but I also represent all the people that are participants in the retirement system and all the other units. We have 48 units, of which you're one of those units. The units are consistent with the watershed district, the housing authorities, some towns, not all the towns in the county, and trying to make it fair and equitable to everybody. We have had discussions with the town managers in various towns. They have their concerns. Their concerns are a little bit different than your concerns. And the numbers have been run by our actuarial, who is going to be on the phone, who will answer any questions for you, or Pat LePage. But Chairman Bellotti is our leader on the retirement system. So
Yeah, so this is, Mike Pilati, for those on the phone, Treasurer and Chairman of the Retirement Board of Norfolk County. This is driven, as Michael Boyden will, reinforce at some point, from a lot of, the local communities who thought it was a matter of fairness. And if you look at all the different units and, way how the different formulas or approaches impact all of them, there was somewhat of a consensus, I would say, Michael, throughout, your colleagues in the communities, in the towns, that this was the best approach. And as we know, as we probably more than assume, as we believe, it is gonna impact the county, probably in a greater, of a challenge, for the county as a unit, relative to, most of the other, communities in Norfolk County and the units outside Norfolk County. And I apologize too. It's, it was a public vote originally to at least look at it after we met, with all the town managers and treasurers. So about a couple months after that, we did have a vote because we thought that as a board, and again, Paul represents you folks. I work very closely with you as an elected official. There are other interests. There were two other members that are elected by the membership, and they represent all the membership, which in essence of, stakeholders in all those communities. And then you have Lisa Sinkus, who represents the treasurers. So there was certainly at least a majority that was seeing this, the perspectives of most of those towns that thought it was an issue of equity. And then we did have a vote, I think, a month later, 2 months later, to actually decide how many years to phase it in, because there was a sense there was not going to be an appetite for the 5-year phase-in relative to the 3, because even 3, to many of the communities, they thought, well, why are we even having a phase-in if this is an issue of equity? And because we do want to be and expect to be, notwithstanding, things that could go wrong in the economy or with the, in terms of 2029 mandate, that, if you go any longer, this is at least their perspective, and this is clearly going to be discussed today, then in essence, you're almost getting there anyways. So, I'll, maybe Dan can get specific. Dan, are you on?
I am. Can you hear me?
I mean, if you want to talk specifically about the numbers and how the two different approaches differ and how they impact folks differently, that might be helpful right now.
Sure. So just a little background. The payroll base has been used since like 1947 to allocate amongst member units in the county system and some town systems. And we've talked about moving to an actuarial base for years, probably a couple of decades, and Plymouth County went to it back in the early 90s. And so the numbers for Norfolk County on a payroll basis is $2.7 million for fiscal year 24. On an actuarial basis, it's $4.6 million for 24. And so it is one of the largest, probably is the largest percentage increase and maybe the largest dollar increase amongst all the member units. Obviously, if Norfolk County goes up that much, other units will go up a bunch, but lots of others will go down. And just a little more background, the actuarial base is looking at the demographics of the group in the unit. So if you have lots of fire and police, it's going to be more expensive. If you have lots of older employees, longer service employees, it's going to go up. So Norfolk County has a lot, a more costly group of individuals that are participating in the retirement system, both at the active level and the retiree level. So that's why you're facing a large increase if we went full actuarial base at $4.6 million. So with a 3-year phase in, the 24 number would go up to $3.4 million versus the 2.7. In fiscal year 25, it would be $4.14 million. And I ballparked fiscal year 26 at roughly $5 million. So over the 3-year period, you almost are expected to double your appropriation from where you are today versus 2026. I also looked at, what a 5-year phase-in might look like. And there, the 24 number is 3.1 million, and the 25 number is 3.6 million. So obviously, it's a slower climb, but you're still going to be up to, $5 million plus at the end of the 5-year period. So that's what you're facing, is a significant increase over the coming years.
And who are the top 3 or 4 or 5 communities that are impacted negatively, relative to us?
I am
And I
looking
know
at,
where but who's
yeah.
number 2 or 3 or 4, just so these folks know.
Yeah, I'm looking at that list right now. There are a few that go up, but a small amount. I'm halfway through.
Yeah.
Yeah, nobody has that kind of an increase that Norfolk County has. Everybody else has got small increases, maybe 10 or 15, 20%, it looks like. A couple, 100,000 or a couple 100,000. 600,000, which is what you're looking at, is obviously much larger and by far the largest.
Mike, Boyd, do you want to give any perspective, in terms of how you collectively you think the towns are looking at this?
For you, members of the commission, we had a meeting at the end of June at Karen Public Safety, and part of the discussion was really surrounding things like the discount rate. Where are we setting? What are we looking at prospectively? What are we looking at in terms of the for all intents and purposes, 6-year phase out now of the retirement, of full funding of the retirement system within the 6 years. Dan did an awesome job. Dan made a great presentation that day and talked about the differences and the distinctions between actuarial-based and pay-based. And when you sit and look at the original chart that was handed out that day, and I started going through some of the numbers, as an example, and I'll just pick on Medway for a minute because that's us. Medway has a $3.55 million appropriation this year for assessment, so that's what we pay, $3.5 million. Next year, under the pay-based system, we would go from 3.5 to 3.9. Huge jump. That's another $400,000 or $500,000 jump in the context of a fiscal year for a small community. So I started looking at it a little further, and our impact if we went to the actuarial-based system, and as was presented to you just now, the actuarial-based system is in fact the fairest system in terms of assigning costs based upon demographics, that our costs would drop from 3.55 to 3.45, a $100,000 drop. Started going through the list: Canton, Cohasset, King Philip Regional District, Medway, Millis, Norfolk, Walpole, Westwood, Rentham, just a few, are communities that essentially have been paying more on a pay-based system than they otherwise would have been paying on an actuarial-based system, and that was benefiting in large part, and this is not, it's not meant to be antagonistic, but it was meant to be that the county system was essentially the county of Norfolk itself, not the retirement system, but the county organization was paying less at the expense of some of the other communities based upon the actuarial system. So I, along with my colleague from Walpole, we met at least once. I met twice with the retirement board and pitched this and said, this has been presented to us now. The genie's out of the bottle. You can't put the top back on the bottle. There are communities that are doing everything they can, looking at things like overrides, looking at things like budget cuts, challenges, et cetera, to try to make ends meet, and yet it turns out that we're spending, in our case, we would have been spending an additional $500,000 next year just to help not increase costs elsewhere in the system, particularly with the county. Pitch the idea, understanding, so and as I said to the retirement board back in, I think it was August, and said, listen, I'm going to put my county advisory board hat on for a second. Nobody wants to impact the county to the tune of $1.8 million. So make that clear. Dan indicated, and Mike said the same thing, that the cost would have gone from 2.9 to 4.67. That's almost a $1.8 million increase without doing the phase-in. The phase-in brings it from 2.9 to 3.3. Again, there's clearly an increase there. There's clearly a budget hit there. But what we're suggesting, and what was really offered up as the 3-year option, is that the communities that have been, for lack of a better term, overpaying for decades, are willing to do it for another 3 years, so that the impact on the system across the system was manageable for all of us. So I get it, and I understand that there's probably some consternation on the part of the commissioners, but what we don't really want is, and I'll say it again, I said it at the retirement board meeting, nobody wants to get into a dialogue as to, okay, so we're paying more so the county government can pay less, that sets up an adversarial potential between the communities and the county, because at least half of the communities do well by moving to an actuarial-based system.
A question.
Yes, sir.
Commissioner
There's
State.
a lot of numbers here. So you're mixing me up a little bit, because I'm hearing 2729. This gentleman on the phone, who I don't know.
He's
said-
their actuary.
Okay, I thought he said 27. I wrote down 27. Now you just said we'd start at 29 and go to 3.3. So what is it? Is it 27 or is it 29?
You want the internet?
That's my first question.
You can, I've got the chart for both of these handouts,
Right.
said that the fiscal 23 appropriation is $2,991,520.
Answer. Dan,
Dan,
do you have
a
that,
question?
Phil?
It's Commissioner
Yeah.
Stady.
Yeah,
I
so,
thought-
so
Go ahead.
at the last meeting, Patrick, and he can speak to this well, because I know he's present. We had a situation with the amortization of the sheriffs. And this morning, I tweaked the amortization of the sheriffs from 7 years to 9 years, and adjusted for, I think that was the only adjustment. But what I have for the county is the figure I gave you over the phone is the 2747760. The number that the gentleman from Midway had was probably from some time ago. And so some of these numbers have been tweaked in the interim. And actually, one of them got tweaked as recent as this morning. So it's a timing issue why the numbers don't quite line up.
All right, so right now, the number should be 27, not 29. Am I right? I'm not being exact.
Yeah, for 24 pay-based, it's
I need-
2747760 semi-annual payment.
We're going
Check the
27.
column for external devices and cable connection status. 2, press the input on your remote to change to another input. 3, for external audio devices, please go to
Think
settings.
she's trying to be fast
Sign
about
out
it.
and change settings to HDMI ARC.
Okay, which is not an auctioneer.
Moving right along.
Moving right along. Are we going then from 27, if we go a 3-year plan, to 3.4, which would be $700,000?
Is that right,
I want to
Dan?
get the right number.
Yeah.
I want Dan.
So 27 would, for the phase-in would be then 3,368,111.
Okay, so 3.4.
Okay.
And then the second year would be 4.1, and the third year would be 5.
Yeah,
5 million.
yeah, roughly 5.
Okay, so the first year increase on this proposal would be, it's like $700,000, right?
Yeah, but the first year is 620, and the second year is 770.
All right, it's a little different than what you said.
Right,
I'm just
no.
trying to I'm trying to get the numbers right, that's
No,
all.
if
It's
I-
not.
I apologize, through you, Mr. Chair, can I follow up? Dan, quick question for you. The number that I was reading from was what it was handed out as the actual appropriation for the current fiscal year. Did the number change for everybody in the current fiscal year? Because we paid the 355. That's why I'm just curious, what did the county actually get assessed this year? Because we've
Oh,
already.
no, I'm talking about 24, not 23.
Right, I'm looking at, I think the question that Commissioner Stady's asking is, what was the county assessed in 2023? And I had the original was 299.
Oh, and 23? Okay, I can go back and look at that.
That's the right number.
Yeah.
Number 10.
For 2023. Nothing changed for 2023. 2023 is basically paid.
That's the 29 number.
Okay, I'll ask another question then, follow-up. When would you be implementing this, in 2024? So, again, I'm trying to get to the
Right,
bottom
that'd be
line.
the beginning of the
So,
phase-in.
I don't care about 2023, with all due respect.
Right.
So 2024, we would be at 2.9 and going up to about 3.4, or 3 point, whatever it was. That's the number.
Right, that's the number,
We're looking
yeah.
at that, we'd be going 2.9,
And actually, it's 2.7, 2.747,760.
backwards. In 2024, what would be the actual appropriation versus the actualization? Could you do that?
Yeah, so for 24, on a
Yeah.
pay base is 2.747,760. On an actuarial basis, it's
Yep.
4,608,813.
He's basically saying.
So the phase-in makes the 24 appropriation 3,368,111.
Okay, I got it now, yeah. It would have been without the phase-in.
It would have gone down from the current year. So instead of your appropriation going up, so instead of the county's appropriation going from 2.9 to 3.3, the appropriation would have gone from 2.9 to 2.7. Under a pay base. If you stayed with pay base, the appropriation for next year goes down. If you go to the actuarial
Which
appropriation.
is why you're
goes up.
saying it's inequitable, and I get it,
Exactly
I
right.
get it, I get it. All I'm trying to do is get the numbers.
Right.
So the numbers, if we do what you're suggesting we do, would be 2.9, and then we go to, what is it, 3.3?
If I
Three-
may interject, your actual, under this method, your FY 2024 would be 3.4 million. That would be what you would be billed for FY 2024 under the 3-year.
Right, without the phase-in, it's more draconian. I mean, it's a bigger number because we're phasing it in. Is that what's getting confusing here? Is the, what it would have been without the phase-in versus what it's going to be with the phase-in?
Is what it would have been if we did nothing unless.
No, I get that, so let's just get, I'm just thinking for this, sake
Now,
of this discussion,
the other one would have been if you didn't do the phase-in, you'd go from currently 2.9 to 4.6.
right,
So instead of 3.4, it would be 4.6.
okay.
And that's based on a 3-year basis, that you're saying is fairer, since we're gonna be at 2029, supposed to be
Right,
dead even or whatever, so, okay. All I'm looking for is a number, that's all,
And
that's
then
all I
you see at the
want.
beginning
of the
Because
year,
we
they will
have to,
change.
all of us have to come up with where we can get the money from, and how we're gonna balance the budget and all that. So, okay, so I kinda get what you're saying, I get the understanding of it, I see what you're saying there, okay. I'll stop for a second.
okay,
I'm gonna call on Director Cronin.
yes.
So, question to the table, I guess, Mr. Sherman. As Commissioner stated, he's trying to identify FY 24 impact, and I think you just nailed the number for us. Can you explain to the table what FY 25 and FY 26 look like under that 3-year period? Do we need to identify additional funds above the FY 24 base?
Yeah.
And then so forth and so on? Could you describe what those numbers look like as well? Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, so the 3.4 million for 24 becomes 4,141,282 for 25. And then 26, I'm ballparking at 5 million, but we'll have to do a new valuation, new set of numbers, and, everything changes. But it's going to be in the neighborhood of $5 million, give or take, depends on what happens between now and January 1st of 24.
And Mr. Chairman, if I could, one other follow-up question.
Sure.
Through you to the treasurer. I understand the retirement board's taking a vote on recommending a 3-year plan that Mr. Boynton has explained. Is there any consideration of the 5-year plan, which would flatten out presumably what these large increases would look like for the county? As Mr. Sherman just indicated, each year, we're gonna be increasing our appropriation between $600,000 and $700,000 from the previous year base. Those are extraordinarily high numbers for a county that does not normally see that kind of growth.
Right.
So I'm wondering if the retirement board put any thought into trying to assist with flattening out the negative impact on our balance sheet for a longer period of time. Thank you.
I think that we began an analysis, but we somewhat jumped quickly to, the issue of how it would be perceived by the community in terms of fairness. And that 5 years was just an extension of trying to get to, a fair equation. So we did talk about it, but it wasn't a incredibly lengthy discussion, to be honest with you, because we thought the political pressures and the expectations of the communities who have, who have looked back at this historically, with the perspective that they've been kind of subsidizing the county. So it was a decision, based on the politics of it in terms of the appetite with the communities, even after we did that analysis, knowing, fully exactly what those numbers meant. I know that's not a great answer.
Well, in practical terms, Mike, with Paul here and Mike here, they're advisory board members too. And I know Commissioner Stady, with his experience in the advisory board, knows the county has a history of revenue collections that look a lot like a mountain range. They go up and they go down.
Right.
And right now they're up. I don't expect they're gonna stay up. I expect them to go down in a year or two. And that means our surplus, our ability to pay, for one-time contributions into this base is gonna be severely limited. A gradual increase is preferred.
Right.
That allows us to plan ahead with some degree of certainty on what we'll need to cut in order to afford this kind of an annual base increase. Because, Mr. Sherman, if I understand it correctly, when you reach the peak, after, in this case, 3 years or 4 years or 5 years, that's your level period. That'll be your expected contribution. Is that correct, or does it go down?
That's good for 24 and 25. 26, I said, is unknown until we do a new valuation. And in 2029, we expect to pay off all the unfunded liability except for a little piece of the old sheriff's retiree liability. And then, so 2030, you would see a huge drop in the appropriation required of all units when we reach full funding. And when I say a huge drop, I'm talking like a reduction of like 80, 90%.
This is gone? I thought it was, okay, no. Through you, Mr. Chairman, two things. How many towns are members of Norfolk County Retirement Board? 15?
Well, there's 44 units, so how many actually from Norfolk?
21.
Yeah.
21 out of the 28 towns?
Yeah. Brookline is Equation, Weymouth.
Brookline, Dedham, Milton, Braintree, Weymouth,
No.
Six,
Norwood.
7, 8,
Okay.
9,
So 21,
10,
okay.
11,
Okay, so that's pretty good.
13, 14.
I mean, Michael, you opened the meeting by saying it's a great challenge, it's certainly significant. I mean, we could take a 1-year hit, but I concur with the Director Cronin. I mean, to ask us to take on a 3-year hit of 600, 500, that's a lot of money, and no one knows what's gonna happen to the economy. We're gonna put our other services, which is the essential part of our county government, at risk. We have to balance that. Could someone break out, or maybe Mr. Sherman,
5 year.
the 5-year, what that would be?
Yeah,
No.
I have the 5-year numbers.
Can you give me that, if you could?
Sure.
Give us that,
Yep.
please?
So the 5-year phase in for 24 would be 3,119,971. And for 25, it would be 3,630,273.
Yes, and? That's it? So it's obviously a smaller amount.
I'm actually surprised, yeah. It's not as significant as one would think.
Oh, but can I give you the flip side?
That's pretty manageable. Where I'm sitting, that's more manageable for us.
Let me give you where I'm sitting.
Okay, fire away.
Instead of 3,457,000, instead of my appropriation under a straight pay-based system, on a straight actual system of being 3.4, my new appropriation under this 5-year plan would be 3.8. I have to come up with another $400,000. So imagine the challenge. I mean, I get what John is saying, and as a member of the advisory board, I'm not insensitive to that. And that's why we suggested doing some type of a phase-in plan. A 5-year phase-in essentially has zero impact. Because if I don't do anything and we leave it at straight pay base, I go from 3.5 to 3.92. If we're talking about doing the phase-in, it goes to 3.82. I save $100,000. When, if I went apple to apple, I'd be saving almost $500,000. And I think that's the biggest challenge. And I'm not the biggest winner, so to speak, in this. You've got others, Walpole's another one, a community that benefit by moving to the 3-year phase-in. And again, not to belabor the point, I get it. You know, if I put the county advisory board hat on, we're all in the same boat together. We got to come up with a solution in years 2 and 3. And knowing where we are in year 5, year 6, in terms of the actual reduction, the massive reduction that's going to come down, that would likely allow the county and all of the communities to start fixing our OPEB liability at that point in time as well. But we would still be able to infuse recurring revenue back into the budget. We've got to find the ability to work it through for a couple of 2 difficult years, and then moving on beyond that to get through to the so-called yellow brick road when all of a sudden we reach fully funding status in 2030. There is no doubt.
I would respectfully submit, though, that on a local level, as a former selectman, you got more options, though. You got to admit that in terms of revenue streams. You got all sorts of ways that you got free cash, you got reserve funds, stabilization, state aid. We don't have that in the county. You know that. We don't have that. We don't have a genie in the bottle say, give us another $600,000 for this year, next year. That's a lot of money. I'm just sorry. It was a lot to take. I hope we're not taking a vote today, Mr. Chairman. I hope we're not taking an advisement. This is a lot to kind of digest.
No, we're not.
We gotta look at,
the question is whether the one already taken
well, that's
still seals it.
disappointing to hear that. This is significant news. This is pretty significant.
No,
That's a huge hit. This is huge.
Let me,
That's a lot of money for the county.
But again, I get I respect your position as a former selectman. I will give you real numbers. My 2.5 levy growth is $1.3 million. That's it. That is all I have for guaranteed revenue. My state aid for the last 5 years, net of charges, is 1.5% over a 5-year window. I netted out $75,000 last year in new state aid, $75,000. This coming year with that 1.3, I may be able to add $300,000 of new growth on there. That's it. So excise is flat. All of my local receipts are flat. I'm not looking at substantial jumps in revenue. I'm going to have a need to increase the Medway school budget by $900,000. I have a tri-county regional school district that's going to hit me with another $600,000 growth. And now I got to pick up, and again, if none of us knew this, we wouldn't be having this conversation. But this conversation did come to light. The numbers came to light. And we know that there's a difference. I would be looking now at another $500,000 increase, or $400,000 increase in my retirement assessment, just to fix that problem that the county's experiencing. That's where I started with my conversation earlier by saying, I don't want this to be an adversarial thing where the communities that are really now having to absorb a lot more cost are looking at it and saying, okay, tell me again what this county system's all about. That conversation doesn't occur right now, and there's no reason to start that conversation. This is one of those challenges. I totally get that we're gonna have some difficult times in fiscal 25 and fiscal 26, and we gotta figure out how to work it out. Communities can't necessarily absorb it because of the changes that are happening at the local level. I just wanted to present Medway's specific examples of what's happening in fiscal 25.
Well, I understand the basic argument. I do. I process it, I read it, I listened. Equity, I understand we should be doing more of our share. It's probably a question now of what's the right number and number of years. That's what we have to figure out. And how the heck we're gonna fund it. That's our problem, not your problem, so to speak, but that's what we have to figure out. Okay, I don't wanna say any more at this point.
Thanks, Commissioner.
Mr. Chairman, if I could, just to back on what Commissioner Stady just said, I understand, Commissioner Stady, that the retirement board's already taken a vote to endorse the 3-year model. If you want to speak to that, I just heard about half an hour.
Wait, time out. So, hold on. This is already a fait accompli.
Yes.
Yeah,
It's already done.
I thought you know that, yeah. I mean,
So I thought we were debating about 3, 4, 5 year, why did we even go through that?
I said right up front, we took 2 votes. I guess I didn't say it clear enough. We took a vote, we kind of laid out the process. I thought that was understood.
Okay, I
We have
misunderstood.
taken that,
I thought our meeting today was to discuss this.
So what happened
explain it,
was,
But look at options, 3, 4, or 5.
well, here's what happened. We felt pressure to take that vote because of the budgets going out, right? And, I mean, it was like a gun to the head, where we had made a decision. I didn't expect a vote to even occur that quickly, but then there was discussion at the meeting that, because of the appetite and the expectations with the communities, that to, in essence, not take the vote in a timely fashion would have put it off another year. Michael, is that true to say? Am I accurate there?
I wasn't at the meeting where you took the actual vote on the phase-in. I mean, let me back up. I attended the meeting where you moved to go to actuarial and you voted to do a phase-in, but you were coming back to talk about the 3, 4, or 5. So the conversation that was there, you are absolutely correct, was, listen, we have communities that are gonna be getting into the budget setting process, by the time we get to November, December, and it's time to start thinking about how we're gonna phase in this type of number. We really can't wait until February, March time to take the vote. Then I did not, so I can't speak to the actual meeting of the vote itself.
So that was the sense that I was under. And again, you're right, there wasn't a lot of conversation with you folks.
well, there was no conversation with the commissioners.
There was no
at that point, there was no, upfront, I said that, we had no conversation. I apologize for that, but we had a meeting at the Wellville Public Safety? Sharon Public Safety Building with, town managers, administrators, and everybody to talk about the budget. Open meeting for everybody to get their input. That's when the first presentation came out. There was a follow-up at the retirement board. It was a third meeting at the retirement office to go over the numbers. And then it came down to the point where they said the budgets are going out, it was time to get the number in and decide whether we're doing a 3-year phase-in or a 5-year phase-in. In the meantime, we were supposed to, I think it was 2 weeks ago, John, we were supposed to have a meeting with you, and then that got postponed a week or 2. Somebody couldn't make the meeting, and, you had a full agenda, because.
Oh, here, yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. We were gonna discuss it then, so that got put off a week, and then our meeting came up after that, and the meeting with, the commissioners was not scheduled for a week after our meeting. So the vote was taken. Could the vote be reconsidered? Yes, it could be.
Yeah, because I don't know how much has gone out to the communities right now in terms of official notification. Yeah. So,
I would actually ask you to think about that.
right,
I mean,
so let's put it this way.
If it was a smaller amount.
No, but I'll say this.
I would get that, and we
So,
don't.
so
but
let's
this is
say,
huge, yeah.
let's say that Paul and I are probably the most inclined to represent the interests of the county as an employer
Right.
versus the other 3 members. You might get the same result just with a 3-2 vote. I'm just saying in a practical sense. That's a more than a hypothetical. Because the treasurer is gonna represent the towns,
Right.
and the 2 elected, I mean, I'm not sure exactly what their greater interest is and who they represent. It's the members of the, retirement system. So they're looking at it overall, which means they will weigh that issue of, equity greater than we're probably obligated to, because we represent, I mean, particularly you, and I'm somewhere in the middle on this. I'm just talking really, okay, so we're all on this board. Why do they have a board that's, diverse in terms of how they get there? That's based on their constituency.
Mm-hmm.
And my constituency also is the town managers, because I'm elected, and even people not in the unit, well, the people not in the unit don't really care at all, right? No, they don't have a horse in this race. But the folks, the units in here, you know, I represent all of them equally. Not you folks anymore, any more than them, when you get it down to it. Love you all. Hope you vote for me, but kidding,
Commissioner
kidding.
Collins.
But I do represent, you know, so it could have been a 3-2 vote.
It could be looked at
Regardless,
again.
and I think we
The vote
looked
may
at
not
that.
change, but,
And we kind of looked at that,
again.
but we can reconsider it, we can have those discussions.
Dan, I had that conversation with you this morning. There's a possibility of, this being submitted at a later date to PERAC. Dan?
Oh, yeah, I mean, you can submit this late to PERAC.
They've already been made aware of the situation.
Yeah, I sent a message to John Borak and Jim Lomenzo saying, if you received anything from Norfolk County, just set it aside from now because it's not final.
I had a Commissioner Collins, go ahead. I had a quick question. What about 4 years?
Yeah, Dan, why was the focus on 3 and 5 and not any real discussion about 4?
When I talked to Perrick about approval of this phase-in, other retirement systems have done this. And I think what John had said was that typically it's been 3 years, but he would be okay with 4 or 5. But I wasn't gonna go beyond that because the Perrick has to approve anything. So if he said he was comfortable with 3, 4, or 5, that's why I gave the board 3 and 5, and you could obviously just split the difference in terms of what a 4-year would look like.
Do you think you could live with 4?
Yeah, I mean, could we, yeah, I mean, my number goes from 7.5 to 9. With a 50K bump, yeah.
What's our number on a 4?
Go from 3.8 to,
Maybe about 3.2.
Might help a lot.
I mean, at the end of the day, Peter, I think you're still gonna have the same challenges that John spoke about in the next 2 years. We're all gonna deal with that.
John, you missed a little bit. So we banged around, we talked about the 3, we talked about the 5, then we talked about what about a 4? Mike said that might be a possibility. Would that be helpful to us, a 4?
Anything's better than 3. 5 is preferred if that's the option, just to flatten it out as much as possible. These numbers are staggering. I love Mike Boynton. But I hear Commissioner Stady, and the balance sheet that I do every year, it stares right back at me. Without any additional revenue, Peter, every dollar will matter, right?
So we love 5, they love 3. 4 is right in the middle. If everybody can live with it, it sounds like the place to go. Like, it's your vote.
But so 4 years, what do you really say, 100,000? What? It's a lot, but I mean, it's still a good whack.
It's 100,000 a year as we adjust it.
Well, I think that, as the 2 members out of the 5 here, we understand, that this is probably something that needs to come up to the next meeting. And again, we don't control the board. People represent different interests, but we can, advocate, for reconsideration. And then, I would like to do a little more assessment in terms of the community still. I'm not committing anything right now, but I'm just open-minded to reconsidering, and then if they have the appetite for it, and when I say the appetite, I mean, it affects all of us, not just the retirement board, in terms of their reaction, in different ways.
Who we missing for the meeting? And
Well,
Eddie, Josephine, who's the other one?
Lisa Sinkus, she's the, treasurer for Foxborough,
Oh, I don't know.
Walpole.
I don't know.
She's appointed by the treasurers.
Right,
Okay, I see.
so she clearly represents the interest of communities, and she was kinda, strong on this.
Strong on 3.
I can
Yeah.
imagine. Okay, that's good for me to know.
Yep,
I didn't know that, okay.
it comes from a very kind of objective.
I mean, again, look, if you look at Walpole's number, Walpole currently is 6.6.
Yeah.
Walpole goes from 6.6 under a straight without a phase-in. Right, hold on. Walpole will go from 6.5 to 6.6, it's a small increase.
Yeah.
But that's better than
All right.
6.5, it's not that way at all.
All right, I
Okay.
think it'd be great, we'd appreciate it.
We have our homework
If you could
assignment.
reconsider it.
Yes.
Okay, I'd appreciate that. If you
Thanks,
would.
commissioners.
Give us a little time to
We
kick it around
definitely-
and make some
And we can
plans,
have
you know?
discussions one-on-one.
Yeah.
We won't violate any open meeting laws, but we can definitely have, still do a little more,
No, but this is helpful.
some discussions.
Having this helped us, we understand the scope of it. Like I said, we gotta kind of.
Right, and we apologize.
No.
You know what, the second we're gonna whip for this,
So we wanna do the right thing.
we should have invited you guys,
Yeah, me too.
we should have invited either one or two, maybe one of them, I guess, I don't know how many could have gone to the meeting.
Yeah.
Just
keep us informed.
the first
That's
meeting.
all. Let us know what's going on.
Yeah, that was,
Big.
that was,
Especially something like this.
but that was me too, I should have,
Oh, yeah.
John and I have a lot of conversations, it should
We're
have been.
good.
You know, but
I just assumed everybody was kind of on the same page.
as much as you're apologizing, the interest of the county absolutely were brought forward by these guys. So it was not, it was, you know, the impact and the specific challenges to the county were absolutely discussed by both folks and with sensitivity to it.
Okay.
No,
Okay.
just the fact that you want to do a phase in, we really appreciate
It's
that.
great,
Thank you.
it's great. There's no, I'm just banging away as my job as commissioner, that's all.
You're doing a great job, all of you. Probably the best collection of commissioners I've ever seen. I've been around for many years.
Like that one.
Right
That's a
there.
good one. All
Right
right.
there, right in the middle.
All right, thank you, guys. Good to see you all.
Dan, thank you very much.
Thank you
Okay.
all. Thank you,
Bye.
Mike,
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Patrick,
Thank you.
See you guys.
Talk to you soon.
Mr. Sherman, we'll see you
Thank you.
again.
Okay. All right.
Okay,
Four.
Hi, Joe.
Yeah.
Paul,
Nice to
bye.
meet you. Good night. Give me my card.
Number 7 is next on the agenda.
All right? Okay, nice to meet you. All right. We back in action?
We're back on a regularly scheduled
Yes, sir.
business of the November 9th, 2022 meeting.
All right.
We still have a fair amount of personnel issues, et cetera, so we're gonna move right along. Number 7, request from Mass State Representative Stephen Howard for a letter of assent to the filing of a bill, House Bill number 5197, an act authorizing Cynthia Falzone to purchase credible service from the Norfolk County Retirement.
That's ironic, huh? Who is this? Someone's trying to be a little tongue in cheek.
Hey, Mr. Chair, Bill Buckley here, out in Zoom
Go ahead,
land.
Bill.
We've had a number of productive discussions. Representative Howitt's staff have been calling me a number of times and emailed me as well relative to the status of the commission's possible letter to allow them to file this bill. As we said before, this is really a ministerial act. It has less to do with endorsing the particulars of the matter and more to do with the fact that without, I believe it's Joint Rule 7A of the Rules of the Great and General Court, in order to admit a bill dealing with the Norfolk County Retirement Board, they need the assent of the Norfolk County Commission. The rule in question was established over 100 years ago. So that's even before the term of Peter Collins began. And so therefore, we still they still must retain from you a letter allowing them to file this special bill on behalf of an individual. If they don't get that, the bill is not admissible either in this session or any other. So Representative Howard has continually advocated by email, via staff about this. So the other sort of wrinkle is the fact that this commission has done so in a number of occasions in recent history for other individuals. So again, you had asked to take some time to think about this. You asked me to put this back on the agenda for this meeting, so I have done so. I'm happy to answer any further questions that the commission may have.
One question. Us assenting to this has got to do with the idea of filing it, not the content of what she's asking for.
That is correct.
I believe this woman, and I'm not talking out of turn, but had already gone to certain boards and received no relief.
That is correct, and that is why when individuals are in that state, that is why they would seek special legislation.
I think I would hate to open a Pandora's box, because there isn't a week that goes by on our agenda that we don't hire a per diem teacher. And then the next week, there's a couple that left and got real jobs. If we ever had to go back and dig into the history of our per diem teachers at the agricultural school for purposes of retirement board, I mean, come on, that would be, you know,
And I think through Mr. Chair, to that point, by allowing this individual through their representative, the gentleman from Seekonk, by allowing them to file a bill, as we all know, no individual in the Commonwealth is guaranteed special legislation. These types of bills, the Joint Committee of Public Service is not one that many people seek to chair, because there are many stories like this. There are a number of difficult hoops to move through, and many of the bills do not make it to the finish line. Many, regardless of their merit, just because of the mechanisms of government involved. So
That is true.
I think this just allows, Representative Howard to advocate on behalf of his constituents. And it,
What do you wish? Or what do
yeah,
you-
it'll fall, let the chips fall where they may on the bill's passage and movement through the legislature. et cetera.
Find it, Wave, I think it's getting late. I think it's ironic after discussion of our retirement and the costs. However, you're right, and I can speak from experience. A lot of those bills don't get too far, they get heard in committee, and we're trying to help a rep out. That said, I would hope the rep would appreciate our cooperation, Wayne, you know what I'm saying? You know, so what's the motion? I'll move to agree to.
To a letter of assent
Letter of
relative
assent,
to
that's all.
Ms. Falzone.
Right, Ms. Falzone, letter of assent. I'll make the motion.
Second. Motion made and seconded. That the Norfolk County Commissioners send a letter of assent to Representative Stephen Howlett relative to the matter of Cynthia Falzone, looking for credible service. The Norfolk County Retirement Board. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Through you, Mr. Chair, I'll prepare that for the House Clerk and Representative Howard.
Number 6, public comment. Every meeting we allow public comment. We're running a little late today, but if there's anyone out in, our phone Zoom land that wants to have any public comment relative to the meeting, now is the time. Put it on, public comment. Last call for public comment. Number 9, old business, we have none at this time. Number 10, personnel matters for consideration.
Mr. Chairman, for you, I'll move the following, appointments. Norfolk County Administration, a notice of appointment for Tony Aiken of Providence, Rhode Island, as fiscal specialist. The rate stated effective 11/21/22, so moved.
Second. Motion made, second, all in favor?
Aye.
It is a vote.
Great pleasure to move the following notice of appointment for Samuel Joseph Evans of Mansfield, Mass, as our Chief Information Officer for the rate stated effective 11/21/22.
I'm gonna call on Director Cronin to introduce Sam to us,
Withdraw.
and then we'll vote.
Okay.
Director Cronin or Commissioner Collins, who has a comment?
So we have a motion on the table, now would be appropriate time to introduce the candidate.
Sure.
Okay, Sam, if you'd like to come up real quick. Good afternoon, Commissioners, and Chuck, if you could also join us. Commissioners, as you know, for the FY '23 budget, plans were made to consolidate technology within Norfolk County. Steps were immediately taken to do so as of July 1st. One of the tasks we undertook was to form a committee to begin reviewing resumes and interviewing candidates. Over the last several months, I had the pleasure to work with Michelle Abadini, our Human Resources Officer, our Advisory Board member, Chuck Phelan, and former CIO of the Registry. During this time period, we were pretty active, and I'd like Chuck to sort of step up and let everybody know what we've been up to over the last several months that brought us to Sam Evans today.
Well, one other thing too, he wasn't just CIO of the Registry, he was kind of CIO of the whole county. Yeah.
That's kind of weird.
Have to speak up a little bit, Chuck.
Okay, that's where some of the things went off the rails a little bit. We had over 68 resumes come in. We interviewed 9 candidates. We did 4 second interviews. We went through a whole list of scenarios. It was a pretty challenging interview process because we were looking for somebody not just for a regular position, but somebody to oversee all the complexities of what we have here in Norfolk County. So we put all the candidates through paces. They went through thorough background check, when, if what they said on the resume was true and everything like that. And, I think we came down with a few good candidates that we all liked, and in the end, we pretty much came together. And so I think he's got a good background experience. It was an extensive, I think it was here every week. He was there as many times as the commission. No, you guys are here a lot more, but I'm not supposed to be here that much. Not that I don't love the lovely town of Dedham. But, so it was pretty extensive. We went through and we whittled it down. where we are right now, where we can make a recommendation to the commissioners, and very confident of the person.
Thank you, Chuck. Sam is currently the Director of Vendor Operations for the Executive Office of Health and Human Services. He handles the Mass Health contract. He's been with UHHS for 5 years. He's been a manager of EDI operations and technology at Boston Medical Center for about 15 years. Prior to that, he was the IT Systems Director at Boston Medical, co-founder years ago with his brother of a Geek.com company for 2 years. Sam's a Yale graduate, went to Harvard Extension School for Administration and Management. He was also previously a webmaster and a technology specialist and system analyst. With over 25 years of technical, operational, and management experience both in the private and public sector, we think Sam brings forth the experience and skills necessary to tackle this very important and challenging role. Sam lives in Medfield with his wife and 2 sons. Mansfield. Grew up in Sharon. So,
Right.
Oh, okay.
so you want to make a couple of words?
I'm very excited for this opportunity, and thank you for considering me. I spent the last 25 plus years in the public-ish sector rather than the private sector because I think we do good stuff for people in Massachusetts. The last 20-ish years I've been working basically for Mass Health. The population has grown, we really need it. And moving to municipal service rather than back to the private sector, which has been a long time away from me. It's been very important for me. So to make a difference in the county is important for me, especially the county that I grew up in.
Yeah.
And I went to school with Leslie Bedoyan. I think, maybe, did you work with Mr. Bedoyan?
Yeah, he's a legend.
Yeah,
Legend.
exactly.
Boy, oh boy.
Yeah, so.
And his son Peter went to the point.
Yeah.
Great
Yep.
family, yeah.
So local is where it's at. You have to make a difference local and in the state. So it's important for me. And I know when I went to work for Mass Health, it was to work for one of my former bosses, who was the chief operations officer, and it was about efficiency for her. Direction that the county needs, and we can make a difference in IT as well. So I'm excited to do what I can.
Just,
Yep.
Commissioner Collins?
Second.
Okay.
Get right to it.
yeah,
I was getting nervous for the length this took.
yeah.
However, I think after speaking today to Sam, it's the first time I met him, I was familiar with this as we went along, and I'm pushing John, because of the seriousness of this. So I think it's worth the wait, so to speak. I want to thank Chuck for doing his extra due diligence as a member of the advisory board and a very unique person who actually held this job way back when it started. He knows both sides of the equation too. So, I mean, John and Chuck and Michelle, how many people do you think you interviewed for this position? Roughly, did you say?
9.
9? And you weeded out a lot before they didn't get to the interview process just because they didn't have the credentials, so to speak. And, certainly a key position it always has been. So I'm anxious today, I'm anxious to get Sam here. We're a week away, so. John and the team for putting this together, and I think we're ready to go. I'm convinced, and
Just a quick comment.
it's an exciting
Your eyes are wide open. You know, the
Yes.
situation's been going on.
Yes.
So, you know,
I've
it's,
dealt with that.
okay.
I mean,
Tru-
it's always different, but,
You know.
when you work for the state,
It's important.
we deal with it. Everyone has different agendas, everyone works,
Well,
so we,
this is great.
Trust me, Commissioner, my comments and back and forth with Sam were not technical. They weren't about
Okay.
they were the
All
human
right.
dynamic side, okay?
I'm excited that I can use the phone. So I put incredible trust in Chuck, who I've known for decades, and John and Michelle also. So, they want you, so I want you because they want you.
That's a great comment.
Welcome aboard.
thank you.
All right,
Commissioners,
notice appointment of,
If I could, just point out
Go
one more
ahead.
thing before you get to that vote. In a moment, you will also, be faced with an appointment for network administrator for, technology. So with Sam's hiring and this network administrator who will also start on the same day, the resources at the registry, or where Sam will sit, will now be 4 individuals. And I believe that is by far the most resources in person that the registry has had on site in my memory. So we want to complete the task, of fulfilling the hires and move towards developing a strategic plan for the next several steps per the Ripples Group, and the desires of both the register and the commissioners, featuring a strong emphasis on customer service. So, thank you, Mr. Commissioner. I just want to let you know you have one more important hire right behind it that complements what Sam's going through, so, thank you.
Well, it was good for Sam to sit through this meeting. I hope it, didn't scare him, but, this was, you know, we're always working on things and we're always, very transparent here, so we wanna work with
We
you.
have to do it, right?
Last call. Motion made and second on the appointment of Samuel Joseph Evans of Mansfield, Mass. as Chief Information Officer effective 11/21/22. All in favor?
Aye.
It is a vote.
Thank you.
Good luck. Thank you. And we're here,
Thanks.
we're here
Thank
all
you,
the
Chuck.
time.
Good luck,
All right,
buddy.
no problem.
Thank you, Chuck.
All right.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Chuck, we don't have any more jobs to fill, Chuck, so you can't interview anyone else.
Thank you very much.
I'm ready. I gotta go. I'm gonna be in wine country
Yeah,
tomorrow.
good man.
Yeah.
Wine
I
country,
worked
yeah.
in Canton for years. I'll be in Napa tomorrow.
That's good. Where are you staying?
You did your homework.
Yeah.
Good man.
Great.
You're a legend.
Right
Yeah.
outside. Chuck, thank you.
I was very
All
lucky
right.
to.
Thank you very much, really, always. Thank you.
So,
We'll see you in a week.
Yep.
Yep, I'll be sipping on wine for the next week.
I did.
I'm gonna be in Napa Valley tomorrow.
Which,
Oh, wonderful. Yeah.
practice.
Wonderful. First wine tasting. That's
wow.
a lot.
No.
Okay,
There you go.
anyway, thank you.
I know,
fun,
well,
okay.
I'm frustrated.
All right.
See you guys.
Thank you.
See ya.
Sam.
Enjoy Napa. Yeah. Thank you. Good luck.
Thanks very much.
Yep.
Back on item 10, personnel matters, number 3 under Norfolk County Administration.
Oh, yes. Okay.
Notice of appointment of Dallas Bray
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
as
move the
network
appointment of
administrator.
Dallas Bray of Rainham, as network administrator for the rate stated effective 11/21/22. So moved. Second.
Motion made and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
It is a vote. Wallaston Recreation Facility, 2.
Notice a contingent appointment of Adelaide Crowley of Quincy, Mass. as seasonal pro shop employee effective 11/10/22. So moved. Second.
Motion made and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
It is a vote. Next.
And final one, notice contingent appointment, Thomas Ford of Quincy, Mass. seasonal pro shop employee effective 11/10/22. So moved. Second.
Motion made and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
It is a vote. Number 11, payroll and expense warrants for
Yes.
approval.
Mr. Chairman, with your permission,
Yes.
move the following for the warrant list of 11/9/22. 23-19 payroll of county, $138,830.62. So moved. Second.
Motion made and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
It is a vote. Next.
Second, 11-02/23, the expense of the county, $76,650.69. So moved. Second.
Motion made and seconded, all in favor? It is a vote. Next.
Number 3, we have, the rest are opera awards, Mr. Chairman. 23-18 Opera Milton, there's Milton again, $39,970. So moved. Second.
Motion made and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
It is an award. Thank you.
Another one
Next.
for Milton, 23-18 Opera Milton, $210,000. So moved. Second.
Motion made and seconded, opera award to the town of Milton, $210,000, all in favor?
Aye.
It is
This'll
a
make you
vote.
smile. And
Third.
23-18 Opera for Quincy, $711,050. So moved. Second.
Opera award in the amount of $711,000 to the city of Quincy for
No,
opera, all in favor?
$711,050.
And 50.
05.
711,500. Town, city of Quincy, all in
Quincy.
favor?
Aye.
It is a vote.
There you go.
Report of the American Rescue Plan Act from Director Cronin.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Some details to the awards that you just, provided, through Commissioner Stady. The Quincy Award, is a reimbursement to the city for, purchase of COVID test kits. The city procured and purchased 47,680 test kits from different vendors, as both the state and the city of Quincy struggle with sudden rise of COVID cases. That particular award falls under the public health section of our purpose area. The next one was for the town of Milton, $39,970. This is under the public health domain also as a reimbursement. The Board of Health is purchasing permitting software called Full Circle, technology software. It's a web-based and permitting and licensing program for local governments. The software application will streamline all applications into one location. With numerous paper-based applications, the Milton Board of Health processes include, but not limited to, tobacco, public, semi-public swimming pools, recreational camps, animal stables, food establishments, septic system plans, as well as many others. The software will allow for improved interdepartmental review, and this electronic-based inspection and application will significantly reduce paper and point-to-point touches. The third application was also with the town of Milton. This total, as Commissioner Stady indicated, $210,000. It also falls under the public health form as a reimbursement. This position is for one full-time mental health jail diversion clinician of $80,000 to $85,000 per year for 2 years. Health insurance for this individual will be the cost of the remaining allocated funds. The position would not be a contract position. While being considered a town employee, this position would be filled temporarily based on this funding. The town may attempt to fund the position thereafter, but that is contingent upon future funding. With these three particular grants, the County of Norfolk is over $37 million in awarded funds from ARPA this year. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Moving right along. Bid openings, we had none. Number 15, contract awards. Do we need Nancy here?
Yeah, she'll be right in.
Nancy, come on in. We have 2 contract awards today. Hi, Nancy.
Hi.
Nancy. Good, thank you. How are you? Hello, Nancy. Nancy, item number 15 is, one award at the agricultural school and one amendment to a contract for, auditing services. So you explain the first one? Equine farrier.
Yes, this is, a 3-year contract for equine farrier services, which is the horseshoer. And the, vendor would be Steve McAllister, 33 years. He's presently been the equine farrier for several years.
We've used him before.
Yeah, and they're happy with his services.
Okay, great. Any questions about the equine farrier for the school? Okay, I'll take a motion, please.
I'll move, Mr. Chairman, to award the, contract to Stephen McAllister, as a bid submitted for equine farmer services for a period of 1 year, with the 2 one-year options renewed for the Norfolk County Agricultural School.
Motion made and seconded, all in favor? Aye, it is a vote. Next one is to amend contract 3-1021-706. What is the explanation of this, Nancy, please?
There's an additional $1,500 charge to, provide a CIFA, which is if we needed to have a single audit performed, we
And this
received
is required by the federal
$750,000.
government to do a CFA audit every year. This is in addition to
This
the
is
old
in addition,
contract.
'cause we
They are
are subject
present,
to a
they are our
single
present vendor.
Yes.
Right.
Any questions, commissioners?
No. I'll move, if you want me to move it?
No, yeah, I do.
Move, Mr. Chairman, amend the contract, number 3-10-21-706, award to Lindsley and Associates for auditing, fiscal 20, 21, and 22, in the amount of $1,500, prepare the schedule of expenditures for CIFA, as the county subject to a single audit in fiscal 21. So moved.
Second. Motion made and seconded. All in favor of amending contract 3-1021-706 for auditing services? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Nancy.
Thanks, Nancy.
Thank you, Nancy.
Thank you.
Moving right along, this is an important one, number 16. Ratification of the memorandum of agreement between Norfolk County Commissioners and the American Federation of State, County, and Municipal Employees, AFL-CIO Council 93, Local 2417, which is our maintenance unit. Director Cronin.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Commissioners. It is my pleasure to bring to you the request for you to ratify this agreement. As the Commissioners understand from previous discussions, the management team has been involved with negotiations with various units since March of 2022, when we set the ground rules on March 25th. The maintenance unit is the first to settle. The conditions that they have agreed to are reflected in the MOA that was placed in your packet. I could just find the document real quick that Michelle gave me. Second. Thank you. Give me 1 second, Joe, I just want to grab a piece of paper.
Go ahead.
Need the contract?
Hmm?
Does he need the contract?
I looked at it, I just gave him mine, I
Yeah.
think he's making himself a copy, Alan.
Okay.
It's in our package.
It's not package, right?
Yeah, I looked at it, I mean, we're ready to go
I
there.
know. Keep looking at the clock needs to be set back, by the way.
That's what it
I'm
is.
thinking, wait a minute, it can't be 4 o'clock.
Apologies for the delay. This contract is, got various, improvements from the existing or prior, expired contract. The vacation carryover will be stated at 10 days. Retirement, 3 years notice of intent to retire may carry over up to 45 vacation days at retirement. Personal leave will now be taken in hourly increments. Sick leave, absences of more than 4 consecutive days if abuse is suspected, management may require supporting medical documentation within 10 business days. Direct deposit will now be required. Juneteenth is now an approved holiday within the contract. Longevity pay for year 1 was increased by $100, year 2 by $50, and year 3 by $50. The wages, cost of living, will be reflected starting July 1st, 2022 at a 2.75% increase. July 1st, 2023 at a 2.50% increase, and July 1st, 2024 at a 2.25% increase. This contract includes an agreement that the county will pay $2,000 to these workers through the premium pay category of the county's ARPA funds within 30 days of ratification. So I understand the vote has been taken by the maintenance unit. It is now time for the commissioners to take a consideration of a vote to ratify this particular contract.
Commissioners, any comments on the, acceptance of the memorandum of understanding between the commissioners and the maintenance workers?
Never
Local
easy
2417.
to settle a contract, never easy.
No?
So congratulations on it, good job, for both sides. And it seems like it's fair. I'm kind of surprised direct deposit was mandated, that's interesting. Sometimes there are people that don't like the old school, but that's, I new people now. But no, it sounds good. I'd move approval, the contract between the Norfolk County Commissioners and the Norfolk County Maintenance Aspect Council 93, Local 2417, for the period of time, this contract is from July 1, 2022 to June 30, 2025, subject to the wages as stated and the other language in the contract is outlined by Director Cronin and contained therein.
Second. Motion made and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
It is a vote 3-0 to settle with the maintenance workers. Thank you very much. Next, in your packet is approval of Medicare renewal rates for employees. I believe that's a mandated order, John, if you can explain it.
Or, thank you, Commissioners. We have a notice heading out to, Norfolk County Medics 2 Blue Medicare, subscription subscribers, easy for me to say. In this particular case, the rates are going to be changed from $378 for Blue Cross Blue Shield Medics 2 individual to $382 per month. For the employee retiree, cost will be going from $113.40 to $114.60.
That going down?
It did, no, it went up, less than $1. Sorry, $1.20.
What was the first one?
The first one was the Blue Cross Blue Shield Medics 2 monthly cost, for the individual. It went from $378 to $382. The second number is
That went down.
Yep, the retire, yep.
Okay. Any questions?
What was the second one again? I'm sorry, is that Meta?
Here you go.
So I did, okay.
It's highlighted right in the middle where the
Okay.
tabs are.
Sure, thank you.
You want to write the numbers down. Yes, Michelle's right here if you
Come on,
want.
Michelle, any
Hi.
questions of Michelle?
No questions for me, but I just want to let you know that the second, figure is they're rolling out a new medic plan for our employees. It's called the Freedom RX PPO plan, and this has been sent to our subscribers as well to enroll. They have a short window because they have to enroll by November 30th, but this is going to be rolled out again for next year, so they have time to think about it, and if they don't want to enroll this year, the medic plan for them from now on. Okay?
Yeah,
Any questions?
that's interesting.
And this material, as I mentioned, is being sent out.
Mm-hmm.
There must be a difference in the benefits or something.
Yeah, there's,
They have a different price.
there's in the packet, you'll see the sheet, and it gives them, they can see the difference in the two plans, so they have any questions, there's a number to call as well. And then there's also, for the new plan, there's, tutorial that they can watch, for November 30th, if they decide to change.
So would the motion be in order, Mr. Chairman?
I believe so, yes, to
To
adopt.
approve, adopt
Yes.
the new, rates for, municipal health insurance for Norfolk County? Or is it for the outlined in the memo of November 1?
And I'll second that.
The Medicare open enrollment notice.
Yeah. Okay. As amended, okay.
Motion made and seconded to approve the Medicare renewal rates for employees. All in favor?
Aye.
It is a vote. Thank you. Number 18, report of the county director.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Understanding the meeting's getting a little long, I'll be brief.
Take your time. Clock is an
We
hour.
have, according to our deadlines, we've received from the Collins Center our first employee handbook draft. Michelle and I are reviewing it right now. Our goal is to get this out to the labor councils by the end of the month to have them review it, followed by department head review as well. So we're going to be looking for feedback over the next month or so before we pivot back to the Collins group with additional details for changes. The commissioners may know from their packet that a firm known as Business View Magazine has reached out to me to ask for the county's interest in joining them for free and having them do a community profile, or in this case, a county profile, on economic development opportunities within Norfolk County. They're looking to schedule a Zoom interview with myself and perhaps all three of you, if you'd like. You just need to let me know so we can post if needed, to discuss the effects of ARPA and other economic development projects within Norfolk County. They shared with me, and I think I sent along to you, some examples of some of the communities they've worked with in Massachusetts, including Canton. They do a very nice job, and they target their magazine revenue needs to certain companies that have a blended interest in the type of economic development we're doing. So it's a win-win, if you would like to call it that, a free opportunity to promote Norfolk County and the good work we're all doing. So I'll wait to hear back from you on your interest, and then I'll schedule the time.
Did you know the date off the top of your head?
The dates are various, and I
Oh.
think I put them in the email, but I need to just know by tomorrow if you're interested, and then we can schedule the dates.
Yeah, I look at that email again, I gotta track that down.
Okay.
I will.
Sounds
good.
I just want to take a brief minute to thank Chuck and Michelle. You just heard from Chuck about the hiring of the CIO. There was a large time commitment involved with the hiring of the CIO, a lot of work, and their assistance has been very, very appreciated. The treasurer's office went through a furniture.
We could, may I just for a second, maybe send a letter of thanks from us, wouldn't be a bad thing.
Sure.
We have to send our appreciation
Chuck,
from us, board draftsman.
Michelle too.
You know,
Sure.
just to, you know, we do appreciate it.
You can
Thank
send one to you too if you want.
I'll draft it.
Oh, my God.
Thanks, good idea.
Oh, shoot.
I'll get on that. Furniture was installed in the treasurer's office this week. They're still working with the furniture vendor to wrap up a couple of items. They're proceeding with other improvements in this building, including finalization of the galley, kitchen, the bathrooms will be starting, I think, soon, if not tonight. So we proceed with some of the improvements that have been previously funded. Last week, I had a meeting with John McGowan, John Vignoni, and two members of the trial court engineering team as we explored the recent recommendations of the Tide Bond Group. They were hired by the trial court in 2021 to conduct an HVAC assessment of every court in Massachusetts, including Norfolk County courthouses. It was a great meeting. We talked about energy improvement opportunities that I know Commissioner Stady has brought up previously where we can, move towards areas where our energy consumption of fossil fuels and things like that can be evaluated and examined. A couple of things emerged. First is we need to complete the assessment that was begun in 2021 of Dedham District Court. Time bond will be out, with the assistance of the trial courts to complete their assessment of the rooftop units and the air quality systems over there. But we did, circle around, a major initiative that we'd, like to proceed on, which is to install an air handler system in Dedham Superior Court to provide fresh outside air. The commissioners may be familiar with, the task Mr. McGowan and his team have undertaken over the last several years to put what's known as split ductless systems into the courtrooms to provide cooling during the summer months. Unfortunately, that air is just recirculated air. It's not outside air being treated. So with COVID, we're looking for any opportunity to bring outside air in, and we see a path to doing that. The trial courts have, made available to me an engineering firm that, they work with, that they would pay for, to help me draft some specifications for that kind of a job. So more on that later. And then finally, they strongly recommended that the county move in the direction of a building management system. They said by far the most efficient way you can control, your energy costs, is to put in, these electronic, systems that, they actually get pretty detailed, but most of them, maintain the 24/7, diagnostic, understanding of what your systems are doing. They're so sensitive and so sophisticated, they can detect people in a room and call for more air or less air if there's no occupancy, and it's all done from one desktop. It's a sophisticated process that involves some installation of wiring, diagnostic tools on each of the equipment, so it's something that we should look forward to doing over the next several years, and I believe it may be ARPA eligible also. We'll have to explore that, but first things first will be the Superior Court job. More on that later, but great contacts. I'll have to thank Chuck O'Brien when I see him. Exceptionally strong engineers that John Vignoni and John McGowan and I met with. Good partnership, so more on that later.
That's great.
I sent out a notice yesterday to all the department heads, alerting them, and through this notice, I'll remind them we're looking for any departmental feedback for supplemental needs or transfers, to Phil Ian Tosca with a CC to me by December 7th in preparation of the December 21st advisory board meeting. And then finally,
Do we have a place where we're gonna meet?
it'll be at the Aggie.
Okay.
John Martin and Joe Reardon are currently in dialogue about the best space, so more on that to come, but yeah, it'll be at the Aggie. And then finally, Michelle wanted me to also alert, Marianne Cole from the Smart Plan will be here on December 1st to meet with her, to meet with employees. A flyer regarding this event will be sent to all departments. That's your Smart Plan representative.
403B.
Right, and I believe she meets at the registry, if I'm not mistaken.
Right.
So, thank you, Mr. Chairman, that's all I have.
Any questions of the county director?
Oh, that's great.
Okay, moving along. Number 18.
19.
Announcement that the county commissioners will attend the Mass Association of County Commissioners meeting held in Plymouth County next week at our regularly scheduled time. So next Wednesday's meeting will be in Plymouth County with the 4 other counties, that being Norfolk, Plymouth.
No, yeah, not exactly. So next week, we won't have a county commissioner meeting for Norfolk counties, but we will have a Mass Association of County Commissioner meeting. Yes. Okay.
Meeting out of county.
Yeah.
But we'll post it so that
Did he send us an actual address?
conduct no regular meeting
No.
here.
We're waiting for the address.
We are.
Okay, thank you.
We have a general understanding of where it might be, but,
I got that, but
we're waiting for
I
Matt.
love the notes too.
He,
Go about your sentence.
Matt was doing a head count last time we checked.
Through you, Mr. Chair, it will be at the Pilgrim Hall Monument.
Can you send it out to us? please?
Yes.
Okay, thanks, okay.
Do you have the time, Bill?
I believe it's 11 o'clock, but I can check.
Okay, we'll get up early next week. Get there early.
Okay.
7 to 3. Number 20, emergency topics, as chair did not reasonably anticipate. Commissioners, do you have any other requests or any comments?
John, just, good dialogue today. Welcome
Yes,
back
it was a good
to our
dialogue.
colleague,
Welcome to our
Commissioner
new
Collins,
CIO.
congratulations on your election.
I'd like to adjourn this meeting in memory of all our Norfolk County veterans. Friday is Veterans Day throughout the Commonwealth.
various honorees and parades, et cetera, so that Friday is a full holiday, but we want to salute our veterans in any way possible.
With
take-
that, you want to make a motion to
Yes.
adjourn? At, 3:06. That's the correct time.
Motion made and seconded to adjourn, all in favor?
Aye.
This meeting is adjourned, and thank you very much. We have a full school board meeting tonight
Yes, we
at 6
do.
P.M.